Welcome everybody. First of all, thank you for being here. This is a new thing for us. I'm trying to do some of these resource webinars via Zoom and just get the resources out to y'all a different way and hopefully allow you some face-to-face connection through this media too. So we're gonna be having several presenters today. We've got Jenny Hoover. She's the Okeechobee and Highlands County Farm Services Agency Executive Director. Jennifer Abbey, USDA Natural Resource Conservation Service District Conservationist. Lauren Butler, she's the Director and the Livestock Agent with the IFAS Extension Office in Okeechobee County. And I'm Yvette Gooddeal, and I'm the Sustainability and Commercial Horticulture Agent here in Martin County Extension. Move on to the next slide. So we're gonna do a little poll. We wanted to get a little other information about who's on the call today. So I am going to open up the poll. So you should see the poll questions here. And if you wouldn't mind, just take a moment or two. There's only 4 questions. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what kind of work you do, where you work, what county you're working in mostly. You can select more than one. And we want to know if you've already had experience with these programs before, Extension, NRCS, FSA. So far nobody's voting. Do y'all? Okay, one person, good. Keep those votes rolling in. Okay, we got about 40% of the people voted. Come on, get a couple more votes in. Oh no. Huh. I just saw an email from someone who was supposed to be here that couldn't log in. Okay. Oh, good. Another awesome. Okay, we'll go ahead and if anybody's working on it, I'll give you a second or two. Okay, we'll end the polling there and share the results. So you should be able to see this. It looks like we've got a farmer. We did have a few farmers sign up, but who actually is here right now differs from that. And we've got a couple of agency representatives and other, well, 2 people from Martin, 1 from Okeechobee, and 1 from another county. And most of you have not enrolled in these programs in the past, but most of you have worked with Extension before. So, okay, thanks. So I am going to stop sharing and close this out. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and let the first presenter, Jenny Hoover, share her screen and information. Just bear with us. Let me see something in the chat.
Hey, Jenny, you're muted.
Okay, and while we're waiting, we had a couple more chats come in saying we've got someone with citrus and ranching. We've got a new farmer in Indiantown planning for grazing and crops.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yes, bear with me. We are new to this Zoom platform. And I am going to go over some different points about my agency and also the programs that we have available. So this will be just a really quick overview, and at the end will be contact information if you have any questions. I'm going to start off with going over what the Farm Service Agency is. We are an agency under the USDA, and it's actually under a newly created division called FPAC, the Farm Production and Conservation Mission Area. So that includes the Farm Service Agency, Risk Management Agency and Natural Resource Conservation Services. Risk Management Agency is the agency that administers the crop insurance programs. So the particular Farm Service Agency delivers farm programs based on the Farm Bill, which can include loans to help agricultural producers. We partner with organizations, and we work with different farmers to either provide food, fuel, or fiber. The Farm Bill comes out every 4 years, and the last one came out in 2018. So to get started with our agency, the first thing would be is to see if there's any areas where we could meet your needs, essentially. We have disaster assistance, which down in South Florida, that is mainly what we are involved in, whether it's livestock losses to lost feed to drought, or greening with the citrus trees, or crops damaged by hurricanes. We also have conservation efforts and farm loans. The commodity price support we don't do very much down in this region. So getting started with Farm Service Agency is a great tool to use. Gov Delivery, it's a monthly newsletter that I send out, and the state also sends out newsletters, and then the counties as well. And it details all the programs that are available that may be applicable. It's sent straight to your email, and unless there is new programs coming out, again, it's only about once a month. So if anybody calls the office and says, hey, I'd really like to be made aware if there's any new programs, I tell them this is the best way to get signed up. You can go to that website, fsa.usda.gov, and you can also sign up for text alerts as well. So some of our livestock programs include the Livestock Forage Disaster Program, which is when there is a drought, and because of that, the grass is not growing and then you need assistance with feed. That is a program that's based on the U.S. Drought Monitor, and when the drought is severe enough, that program is triggered. And again, that would be a case where I'd send out a Gov Delivery newsletter, and you would see that that was available in your counties, and you would contact the office to sign up. The Livestock Indemnity Program, an example of that would be if you had cattle and say something got struck by lightning, and you had a vet come out and verify that the cattle had died due to lightning, then and you let the office know in a timely manner, you may be able to receive assistance on that. Another popular program is what we call ELAP, the Emergency Assistance for Livestock, and that can include honeybees and farm-raised fish. Something we do with honeybees has to do with losses to colony collapse disorder. And again, there are different rules on reporting and being registered with the office. So if anybody's seeing this and is interested, contact me and I can give you further details about it. Another program we have is called the Non-Insured Crop Disaster Assistance Program. And this would be for commercial crops that are grown for, again, commercial purposes, but they are not able to be covered by traditional crop insurance. In these cases, this is kind of, so you wouldn't have crop insurance and what we call NAP coverage. But if you had a crop that was able to be grown sustainably in an area, then you could, and it's on what we call our national crop table, you may be able to apply to have coverage in case of a hurricane or other natural disasters. Some of the eligible causes of loss for this program would be drought, tornado, freeze, hail, flood, earthquake, all these natural disasters. Oops, sorry, I went a little too fast. So that would be, you just have to let me know what county you're in, and I could look on our crop table, and if it's something not on the crop table, we could apply to get it added on. One example would be maybe, you know, tomatoes or watermelons, or, and also we have some tropical fruit, depending on the county. Another program we have is the Tree Assistance Program. This is a program that's used a lot by citrus growers that have been affected by greening, or if they're affected from a hurricane. But this can include tree, bush, or vine. That is anything that is affected by a natural disaster that falls in those categories, tree, bush, or vines. I've also had, I have a winery in St. Lucie that has vines or blueberry bushes. So it can be a variety of crops that would fall under that PAP program. I work on the program side, and then we also have farm loan officers. So I wanted to go over a couple different loans that are offered through our agency. That's the direct loan program, which would be direct operating loans. We have micro loans. Youth loans is very popular for kids that want to participate in FFA or 4-H and have a show animal. They have an option of doing a loan and then paying it back after they sell their animal. We also have the guaranteed loan program, which can help with farm operating costs and farm ownership. And that is just kind of a quick overview of what the Farm Service Agency does. Again, if you saw anything that may be of interest to you, go ahead and send me an email, or you can go to fsa.usda.gov for more information. I think that is it. I think we were going to answer questions at the end. I don't see anything in the group chat, so I will go ahead and hand it back to Yvette.
All right, and our next presenter, Jennifer Abbey, is going to pull up her slides next and share some of the Natural Resource Conservation Service programs.
Okay, thanks, Yvette. I am the district conservationist in the office which sits in St. Lucie County, but I do cover Martin, St. Lucie, and Indian River County. If you happen to be on from Okeechobee County, their district conservationist is in an office there in Okeechobee, and his name is Howard Harrison. Like Jenny said, NRCS is another division of USDA, and we're all in the same group. So we do a lot of work together, but we have completely different purposes. So the Natural Resource Conservation Service mission is that we deliver conservation solutions so that agricultural producers can protect natural resources and feed a growing world. And so with that, the vision of the agency is a world of clean and abundant water, healthy soils, resilient landscapes, and thriving agricultural communities through voluntary conservation. And so for our programs, we provide technical assistance through a locally based conservationist like myself or Howard or whoever happens to be in your county. And the goal of that assistance is to help the client address opportunities, concerns, and problems related to the use of the natural resources. And so some of the common products that we provide are soil maps and soil map interpretations for land, conservation plans, and along with that, grazing plans. In the conservation planning process, NRCS conservationists, we come out, inventory and evaluate resources into the main categories of soil, water, air, plants, animals, and energy. And then we make suggestions to help land managers make land use decisions or conservation treatment decisions. And the conservation plans that we produce for the clients, that's the foundation that leads later to potential funding. So let's look at a quick example of what a conservation plan might look like on grazing land. One of the key best management practices a land manager can do is a prescribed grazing system with the animals. And a prescribed grazing system is just a term used to basically control the amount of grazing by livestock by limiting placement and timing of where they're going to be. And so a lot of times The best way to do that is through fencing. And so you can cross fence a paddock and make, multiple, and that allows you to move the cattle around and control the amount of forage. And that's growing. You can't really control the growth, of course, but I guess what I'm saying is you control what they're eating, and rather than them choosing what they want to eat, you're kind of concentrating them in one area and letting them eat in one area while the rest of the areas have time to rest and recover. And so with that in mind, we often like to say that on grazing land, even though people are raising cattle, it's almost like you're a grass farmer, because the grass is super important to raising the cattle with. The other thing that you might see commonly in a grazing or conservation plan that has prescribed grazing is, especially if you're going to cross fence, you would need maybe some water in the pastures that you've created, because there may not be any. And so things like solar troughs or electric, whatever the case may be, with a new well and a pump and pipeline that hook up to a trough or multiple troughs, that'll provide water to the animals. Another common thing, particularly in South Florida, is invasive plant treatment. So in the slide there, you can see pictured some lovely Brazilian pepper in full bloom and fruiting. And I'm sure you probably have seen that anywhere you go in town, because it's all over the place. Taking a look at cropland and nursery systems, one of the common things that is done is to irrigate those crops. And so we partner with mobile irrigation labs who cover basically the whole state of Florida, and they provide a service. They come out and take a look at the system and see how efficient it is and make recommendations to you based on that. And a lot of times those recommendations lead to people coming to NRCS to apply for funding to perhaps do an upgraded irrigation system that's going to save more water. On cropland also, soil health is a focus, and particularly to our agency. And you might see things like conservation crop rotation or cover crop are items that we might recommend that people do. So with that in mind, I just wanted to spend a second to mention a little bit more about soil health, because NRCS does have an initiative, and our focus has been directed towards soil health, which is not really a new thing, because our agency actually was formed about 75 years ago because of the Dust Bowl. And so soil is kind of the reason why we formed, and we still have a focus on soil. And we've broken it down into 4 main principles of soil health. So those are to minimize disturbance, keeping the soil covered, whether by living plants or by some sort of mulch, maximizing plant diversity, and maximizing living roots. And I could probably talk about this all day, so I'm not going to, but that is definitely a topic that the agency has been trying to promote a little bit more heavily recently, and we've been being trained within the agency and being trained to train others as well, because that's our job, is to make recommendations. So now I have alluded to the fact that we do have financial assistance, which many of you might have been waiting for this whole time. So I'm going to talk a little bit about those programs. Although we have multiple programs, the 2 main programs that are probably of most interest would be the Environmental Quality Incentives Program, otherwise abbreviated as EQIP, or the Conservation Stewardship Program, which is abbreviated CSP. And just a quick view of what these programs are. The Environmental Quality Incentives Program, or EQIP, is a program that's set up to provide an incentive payment for some sort of conservation activity that's being implemented. And we do that through a contract, which you can apply for. And I'll talk a little bit about that process a little bit next couple slides later. In contrast, the Conservation Stewardship Program is a program where when you sign up, you're signing up for a contract that lasts 5 years, and you will receive annual payments for the activities that you're already doing and the new activities that you plan to do. So it's similar, but it's set up a little bit differently. Both programs, you own or operate agricultural land in order to sign up for these programs and be eligible. CSP has an additional eligibility element, which is to meet a threshold for 2 of the priority resource concerns, which there's about 5 priority resource concerns, so you would just have to meet 2. And all of the things that I talked about on the previous slides would be applicable under both programs. I always recommend for people who are starting out and need to do cross-fencing or are looking to do a lot of structural work to start out with EQIP. CSP, because of the nature of the way that it works, it's much better to go through EQIP first, or maybe somebody's already set up on their property and already has enough cross-fencing, has already been doing prescribed grazing, or maybe if it's maybe a citrus grove, maybe they've already got a great irrigation system and they've been going, doing really good management already, then that might be a great opportunity for the CSP program. And I just wanted to note, pictured here on the right is a weather station. So there are a lot of different opportunities under CSP as well that's a little different from EQIP. You kind of are going above and beyond. And then real quickly, I wanted to highlight one of the initiatives under EQIP is high tunnels. And so there are a lot of benefits to having a high tunnel over a crop. And we do have opportunity for people to sign up and have cost share available for installing high tunnels. And briefly, some of the program requirements that are often asked about is that you have to put it on top of a crop that's already existing or cropland that's already existing. The crop has to be grown in the natural soil profile. You can use amendments and you can use raised beds, but if you were doing like a container nursery, that wouldn't really fit this particular program. And it does have to be purchased as a manufactured kit, so you can't have a DIY high tunnel. You can build it yourself, but you have to purchase it as a kit. The last slide that I have just briefly talks about the process of how to get assistance with this. And the first step is to go through, contact us and to go through the planning process and work on a conservation plan. That oftentimes leads into a great opportunity for an application in any of the programs I mentioned. There's an eligibility process. There's a few paperworks to do with that. All the applications are ranked, and that's how we determine priority for our funding. And then once you have a signed contract, you go through the implementation of it and receive reimbursement. And that's all I have. I would be happy to answer any questions or talk to anybody who wanted any more information privately later through the phone or making an appointment where we come out and visit.
All right, so while she closes out her presentation, Lauren Butler is going to bring up the presentation for extension.
All right. So as she said, my name is Lauren Butler. I'm the County Extension Director in Okeechobee, and the livestock agent there. And so Yvette and I thought we would just kind of go over what Extension can do for you right now, because we've been pretty limited on the amount of time we can be anywhere but in our office or in our home. So we just wanted to let you know that we were still here for you. And in my commodity, as she said, I'm livestock. So we are still able to assist people over the phone with any normal topic that we would cover. But one of the things that my ranchers are able to still do on their own is soil sampling. So we've had several people call and ask about soil sampling, and sometimes I can help people with that. I'll go out to the field and help them, and sometimes I just can't fit it in my schedule. So it's nothing new for them to do it on their own or call a company to do it, but ours is a little more affordable. So, and then you're not talked into any fertilizer. So if you don't want it. So we talk people through the sampling process. We can still do that. People can come to the office, at least in Okeechobee, and call ahead and get soil sampling like a kit, basically. So we're encouraging people to do that right now. It's a good time to do it as our plants are all growing, coming out of dormancy. And so now's the time to give them some of that fertilizer. But with new growth comes new weeds. And so that's the next thing on my list is weed ID. If you know how to treat it, you can definitely still send to us via email or text. And if we don't know the answer, then our weed specialist at ONA is excellent at getting back to us. So we can definitely still help you with that. And then all the other topics are the usual things that we cover. Usually those are things that we would cover in programs, and some of those have been postponed or canceled completely. But we definitely do a lot of pasture health consultations. We have specific programs on health, nutrition. We have a nutrition specialist at ONA, and so he's very helpful when it comes to that. Reproduction, we actually have a specialist that's been coming down to Okeechobee for a couple of years now, doing some reproduction trials here. So that's pretty exciting that they're used to the South Florida environment and our cattle type, and so they're learning, because he's new, so he's learning what he's up against down here. So, and then I'm super excited about the last one. I never thought I'd be excited about pesticide testing, but we've been cut off from FDACS for a while for safety reasons. And come May 18th, our office, Okeechobee, will be available for pesticide testing. But you do have to, still follow the general guidelines, which is to sign up on FDACS and get your voucher number, and then come in. You do have to have a mask, and we have to follow extra safety precautions with spacing and sanitation between testers. So we've had people knocking down our door to do pesticide testing. So we're really excited to get that back up and rolling. And then I thought I would just briefly share this resource. We have a lot of specialists at the University of Florida that many people may or may not utilize or know about. And I thought that I would list the ones that are the most relevant at this time, which is we have a livestock economics specialist. He's over at ONA. ONA is over in Hardee County. So he is actually a state specialist, and he is very helpful when it comes to budgeting and figuring out, especially in this time, maybe what the market is going to do. I've been consulting with him several times about the changes in the market due to the packer situation and import and export, that there's been some discrepancies with that. So he is very helpful. So if you are in need of someone to talk you through some economics, he is available. So that would be Chris Pravat. So the next one is a disaster education specialist. I'm referring to Dr. Angie Lindsay. I consider her kind of like an FDACS liaison for Department of Ag. She is able to get us information from FDACS, let us know what's going on, maybe let us know what new programs are coming out that could be helpful for our farmers and ranchers. I had a producer going to Texas last week, and he wanted to know what paperwork he needed personally and what paperwork his animals needed. So she was able to get me those answers really quickly. So she's a great resource for things like that. And then the last one I have listed there is food safety and quality. And a lot of people may not be thinking about that right now, but I have producers that this livestock market is really going to tank, or maybe they're trying to diversify in general, and it may be something that they're going to create a food product, and they need to know like what licensures they need. Do they need to be in a certified kitchen? What product standards do they need to meet? So that's a really interesting topic that I know very little about. And so I like directing people. I'm talking about Dr. Amy Simone. So like, for example, we have a mushroom grower in Okeechobee who would like to make mushroom burgers. And so I sent him to her because I don't know. I don't even know how to get started in that. So that was, those are some examples of specialists that we have available to us. And that's my last bullet point, is resources for clientele. I kind of pride myself on that. I don't always know the answers, but I'm not shy about asking somebody at the University of Florida on campus, or especially at our Rangeland Research and Education Center over at ONA. So if you need something, please reach out and ask, because we can figure it out for you. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Yvette, but I guess I'm still in control. So Yvette, just tell me when you want me to switch the slides.
Okay, go ahead. Are you going? Okay, thanks. Move the chat out of the way. All right, so yeah, and just we work together across all the counties, and so just following on from what Lauren shared, some of the services, I'm not on the livestock side. If we have livestock questions come up in our county, often I will ask Lauren to help out with those. But some of the more crop-based services that we offer are, those workshops for pesticide licensing and CEUs. And with COVID, we are in this transition state of figuring out, some of those are going to have to move online. Thankfully, our pesticide information office with the University of Florida already has a wonderful catalog of CEU programs online for people to use. So if you need help finding those, please let me know, let your county agent know. And then we also help to connect people with resources like we are today. These funding and technical assistance programs, as we hear of open dates and application periods, we try to push that information out to our clientele so they're aware of those programs and they can make use of the resources that are available for them. And then another program I just wanted to highlight is we were able to get a grant through the Best Management Practices program to get some soil moisture sensors. And so we have a couple of units that we can install. I know it's the summer, which is mostly the off season for vegetables, but if you were like, say, growing some cover crops and you just wanted to play around with what are the water levels, can I see the roots, and how does this technology work? We can do that. We are still limited in our travel a little bit, but there are ways, if we let UF know, hey, here's how I'm going to be safe out in the field, social distancing and all of that, then we can definitely still get out into the field to install units like this and then work with you over the phone and by email to help interpret and look at the data. And we're also looking at maybe getting a unit that will help nursery growers. We have a specialist who's helping us with that, and that's Dr. Charles Barrett there. And then there's also another specialist at the Research Center in Fort Pierce, Dr. Guzman. So yeah, we've got great specialists to help with these things. Oh, next slide. Oh, can you go to the next slide, please?
Yeah, I did. I guess it's delayed maybe.
Oh, okay. Okay, there we go. So again, just to follow on from some of the specialists that she highlighted, these are statewide specialists. So whatever county you're in, you can connect. And your county agent can help you make those connections, or you're welcome to go directly to the specialist. But a couple that I've worked with that I know have offered to help out in our county or region or anywhere statewide are, like I mentioned, Dr. Barrett, Dr. Guzman, And also, so those two would be for irrigation, Dr. Charles Barrett and Dr. Sandra Guzman. And then with the cover crops, Dr. Danielle Treadway is one of the specialists who focuses on cover crops, and she's willing and able to mentor farmers who are working with cover crops as a new addition to their operations to help make sure that they are successful. And then other resources for clientele, you know, we aren't doing as much field consultation, but we are still available by phone and email. And like Lauren says, if there's something that I just don't know, then I can help you find a specialist who would know, or a resource. We have a great distance diagnostic service for identification of pests and diseases. So please, if you haven't before, definitely make use of your county extension agents. And that was it for me. So while Lauren is stopping the share, thank you, very good. We're gonna go to the chat and look at the questions. So it looks like we only have one question so far, but if y'all think of other questions as we're going along, please type them into the chat and we'll address them. So the first one here is asking about an irrigation system upgrade. We invested in drip, and growing cover crops is problematic because we rely on rainfall to establish the cover. We need a different irrigation system for the cover crop. Can NRCS help out? So is that, would you take that question, Jennifer, please?
Absolutely. That is a great question, and it's a very interesting one because it's not a common question. Normally, we do irrigation system upgrades to replace an existing system. So essentially what I gather you're asking is that you have drip irrigation for your main crops that you're growing, and then because it's drip tape probably, you probably get that off of the field when you're done with your crop, and then when you go through and plant your cover crop, then there's then no irrigation available for watering the cover crop at that time. We don't normally cost share a secondary irrigation system that's not for the primary crop. We could help with technical assistance because we have engineers, but I know that's not really what you're asking, but that's, at this time, that's pretty much the only assistance that we would have. I can certainly push that question up further up the line and just make sure that I'm answering that accurately for you. But that's my current answer for that.
Jennifer, I had a question. You said that the projects or the applications are ranked. Is there a time frame that they're admitted and then like accepted and then ranked? Like, is there a cutoff time and then they're ranked after that? Or I thought they just kind of rolled in. How can they be ranked?
They do. We do accept applications all year long. And then what happens is we have an announced deadline for consideration of that year's funds. So for instance, for fiscal year 2020, which is what we're in now, although I don't exactly remember the deadline for EQIP, it was sometime back in, let's just say January, because I don't exactly remember. It might have been a little before that. CSP, the sign-up deadline for fiscal year 2020 funds, it hasn't passed yet. It's actually June 1st. So anybody that wanted to sign up for that still has opportunity to apply this year and then get a contract or compete for a contract this year. All the applications that are received up to that deadline are then considered. Anything that comes in after the deadline will be considered for the following year. So for instance, if somebody applied for EQIP right now, I tell them that obviously certainly take the application. It's a great time to apply because we have plenty of time to prepare with the consultation, going out, finding you know, what is it they're interested in and making recommendations, and they have time to think about what it is they want to do. And then for fiscal year 2021, this time period right now is very typical for when our funding comes out. So the ranking process that you mentioned is basically, it's a series of questions that are asking, what is the project benefiting? Like, what is it going to save water? Is it going to improve soil health? Is it going to, you know, provide water quality benefits? So depending on what the project is, they compete into different pools of money, and then that's how we decide what is the priority in which all of the applications we would receive would get funded. So it's not like a first come first serve. It's like we look at everybody, and then we try to prioritize based off of the project itself and what benefits it can provide to the environment, and then that's how we offer the funding. EQIP funding usually does not cover all of the applications we get, and so a lot of people will be applying year after year to try to compete for that funding. CSP, however, traditionally has had enough money to support all of the applications. So that's a great program to get in on, and I often will recommend that for people.
So thank you, Jennifer. And so we are just past the meeting close time. So I did see we had another question come in, but maybe we just address that by email later. So if you had a question that you didn't get to answer, please, didn't get to ask, please email it to one of us, or put it in this survey. I put it in the chat box, a link to a Qualtrics survey. So please just click that link and complete the survey. It's just a few questions to ask how you like the webinar, if you want to see something more like this in the future. And if you didn't get to ask a question, you can put it in there too. And I'll share this question Carl had with everyone so that we can get his answered by email too. So I just want to take a moment to thank everybody, thank all our presenters, thank all of you for participating, and we'll send out the recorded version as well to you by email. So thanks, everybody.